Thank y'all so much for joining us today, and welcome to the NNLM Social Determinants of Environmental Health webinar series. We're super glad you're able to join us today for this session. This one is titled Citizen Science Empowers Environmental Understanding Through Libraries, Community-Based Organizations, and More. I'm Kirsten Crowhurst. I'm the Program Innovation Strategist with the National All of Us Program Center, and I'll be your host and chat monitor today. We have Molly Knapp assisting with the technical aspects from the NNLM National Training Office, and we have both Emma and Caroline here today. I'm just going to go through a couple of slides to get started. So let me just cue those up and we'll go ahead. So we are doing live closed captioning today. It is enabled and you can opt in by selecting show captions at the bottom menu. Depending on the size of your screen, you may need to click on the three dots where it says more and then select captions. All attendees are muted, but we welcome your questions and comments in the chat anytime. I'll be your chat moderator, and there will be time for questions at the end of our presentation. And when you do ask your questions, please be sure to select everyone from the drop-down menu when posting your questions and comments in the chat so that everyone can see them. We are recording today's session and it will be available various places, including the accompanying series guide in about a month. As a reminder, by registering for this webinar, all attendees have agreed to abide by the NNLM Code of Conduct, and it's a reminder that we're all here professionally and we want to be inclusive and respectful. Your cooperation is appreciated. The Code of Conduct is also available on our website, and I'm just about to post the link in the chat for your review. This class is eligible for 1.5 Medical Library Association continuing education credits, which you'll be able to claim through the evaluation link that will have the MLA CE code. We'll be sharing this at the end of the session. And speaking of that evaluation, your feedback matters to us and helps us improve future events, so please take a moment to complete it whether you are interested in obtaining the CE or not. I know some of you are already familiar with us, but for those who aren't, I'd like to share a little bit more information about who we are. The National Institutes of Health is the nation's leading medical research agency. Many of you might be more familiar with the National Cancer Institute, which is one of the many institutes and centers at the NIH. NLM, or the National Library of Medicine, is one of 27 institutes and offices in the National Institutes of Health, and it's the world's largest biomedical library and produces online resources like PubMed and Medline Plus. NNLM, the network of the National Library of Medicine, is an outreach program of the NLM working to ensure health professionals and the public have equal access to health information. NNLM is made up of 7 regional medical libraries, 3 national offices, and 4 national centers, all providing training, funding, and engagement opportunities to over 9,000 NNLM member organizations. Here's a map to show you how our regional medical libraries are geographically divided. If you'd like to learn more about your region and how your organization can become a part of the network, please visit our website at nnlm.gov, and I'm posting the link in the chat right now. I work with the NNLM All of Us Program Center, the NAPC, and it's a partnership between the National Library of Medicine and the All of Us Research Program. The NAPC supports the All of Us Research Program through 2 main goals: engagement with public libraries, including training, funding, and partnerships, and providing training for all of us staff across the U.S. The NAPC is based out of the University of Iowa Hardin Library for the Health Sciences and the University of Pittsburgh Health Sciences Library System. The All of Us Research Program is a consortium of engagement and enrollment partners. So the All of Us Research Program is led by the National Institutes of Health, and it builds on one of the nation's biomedical data resources. This program collects and stores health information from a diverse group of participants across the U.S. Registered researchers can access All of Us data and tools to conduct a wide variety of studies that may help improve our understanding of human health. And the All of Us research program aims to recruit 1 million or more participants who reflect the diversity of the United States. And I'm just gonna play a little video here.
Meet Ray. Ray lives on a farm. He loves playing kickball with his grandkids, but lately he's gotten a little slower and been visiting the doctor a lot more often. This is Kim. Kim lives in the city. She loves to exercise, cook healthy meals, and can't remember the last time she called in sick. They're both people, but not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better, until now. Enter All of Us, the research program based on precision medicine. Precision medicine is a revolutionary new approach to treating and preventing disease that's personalized, instead of one size fits all. By gathering health data from 1 million people like Ray and Kim and Trevor and Samir, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Once enough people join, suddenly everything changes. Information becomes clear, patterns emerge, and simple data transforms into life-saving knowledge. This means that Ray and Kim's children and their children's children can live longer, healthier lives. By becoming one of the first 1 million people to volunteer, you can help reshape the entire future of healthcare for generations to come. If we can figure out how to fly, put a man on the moon, and connect the entire world, surely we should be able to improve the future of healthcare. Not just for Ray and Kim or even you, but for all of us. Sign up at joinallofus.org. The future of health begins with you.
I'm going to go ahead and just introduce our fabulous guest presenters who we have here today. Caroline is an advisor at SciStarter, where she assists with the Citizen Science Month program, SciStarter's corporate volunteer programs, and other programmatic and outreach efforts, including working with SciStarter's syndicated blog network. Caroline is a Master of Public Policy graduate from American University, where she was a Riley Environmental Policy Scholar and is a current PhD student at the University of Florida. We're going to introduce Emma now. Emma is a manager of public outreach and programs at SciStarter, and Emma coordinates team communication and tasks, plans events, and manages programs, responds to client and customer questions and concerns, and promotes citizen science through community outreach. Emma earned her undergraduate degree in business management and Spanish communication and her master's degree in science and technology policy, all at Arizona State University. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yay! And we really want this to be interactive, everybody. So don't be afraid to, and also thank you so much, Kirsten. We're grateful to be here. But for everybody who's here, don't be afraid to interrupt or to make your voice heard in the chat. Emma and I love dialogue, and we love to dialogue with you. Okay, so the title of our talk is Citizen Science Empowers Environmental Understanding Through Libraries, Community-Based Organizations, and More. And you can see on the other side of the slide, we have a logo that says 1 million acts of science. And what does that mean? I'll have Emma tell you more about it in a second. But before the end of today's presentation, I'm going to ask you all to post on social media, whether you have Twitter, aka X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, whatever social media accounts you use. I want you to post, you're going to be posting before the end of this, hopefully, and using the hashtag 1 million acts of science. Because believe it or not, attending today's event is actually an act of science. And we want y'all to report our act, get us closer to 1 million before the end of April. And Emma put 1 million acts of science, the hashtag in the chat. So it's easy for you. You can just copy and paste. Okay. So before we tell you more about 1 million acts, let me go through objective 1. So in the first part of our presentation, we're going to give you an introduction to what citizen science is, what SciStarter is, what programs we do with libraries and community-based organizations, how they pertain to environmental health topics, and we'll hopefully give you some ideas for things that you can do in these realms as well. And then later in the presentation, we'll delve more into specific examples and things like that. So we're kind of going from the big umbrella to smaller specific calls to action. So what is citizen science? Ultimately, it's a global movement that enables people from all walks of life to collaborate with scientists by participating in real scientific research. So what we think about it at SciStarter, we think citizen science is how people can make an impact on issues they care about. Or another way we often phrase it is citizen science allows anybody and everybody to turn their curiosity about the world into real scientific impact. Typically, it's by collecting or analyzing data for ongoing research projects. And data is just information. Data can be words and pictures. I do the IC Change project a lot, and I'll tell you more about IC Change later in this presentation, but I just take pictures of climate impacts and describe them and their impact on my life. That's qualitative data right there. Data, can be numbers and measurements. Maybe you have a testing kit and you test the water quality in your area and you link that to some health data, like surveys about your health history. All of that's data too. Temperature, that's important data too, measuring temperature over time. But this data can be collected or analyzed by anybody in citizen science projects, and it's real science, people actually contributing to the scientific enterprise. And at SciStarter, our stance is citizen science is the term we use, but we know some people call it community science, some people call it neighborhood science, some people call it public participation in scientific research. Ultimately, as long as it's real science, that's cool with us, and the project can be listed on our platform. So why is citizen science something that we champion? Why is it awesome? Well, number one, it broadens the scope of who can contribute to science because it's anybody of any background, right? You don't need any sort of degree. You can be any age. I've done citizen science with everybody from Girl Scouts to retirees. Anybody can do it anywhere in the world. There have been citizen science projects on every continent, including Antarctica. It also enables participants to engage in science at every step of the process. So you can collect the data, you can analyze it, you can interpret it, you can disseminate it. We've also seen projects come through on SciStarter that have been proposed by citizen scientists, people without advanced degrees who put in the legwork to come up with a really robust data protocol, and then they have others contribute. That's great too. At any point in the process, people can be involved in citizen science. It enables participants to learn about the nature of science and scientific reasoning. I can say this firsthand from my work. Through my PhD, so outside of SciStarter, I use citizen science as a tool to help people rethink what science is. A lot of the folks I work with who are older adults, maybe they think of science as something they failed in school, right? They think of it as memorization and scary tests and just something that's not for them. But then when they engage in citizen science, they can rethink it and think, oh, wait, this is just a means of discovery, a method of learning new things about the world. And anybody can do it to answer questions. And citizen science is important because it accelerates research and discovery. One thing we say at SciStarter a lot is scientists don't have enough eyes, ears, and perspectives to know everything there is to know, to answer every question that needs to be answered. Our world is becoming increasingly complicated, and citizen science helps us understand that complexity. I love this slide. Because as citizen scientists, we now know that bird populations have declined by 50%, that birds are breeding earlier, that there are 50 plus types of bacteria that live in your belly button. That was a project out of NC State, actually, where people swabbed their belly buttons and sent the samples in. And a joke I always make on this slide is if you ever feel lonely, don't feel lonely. You got 50 different bacteria right in your belly button all the time. The first flowering of 19 species of plants has moved 9 days earlier over the past decade. We know that because of citizen science. It's not all doom and gloom, right? It's not all just citizen science that's measuring climate change impacts. We also know because of citizen science that there's a new type of aurora in the night sky. And the citizen scientist who discovered it got to name it, and they named it Steve. If you are interested in learning more about that, there's a documentary I really like called Chasing Steve that I heartily recommend. And I always like pointing this out, and it showcases the power of collective impact. It was actually back in 2019. I was involved in organizing it. Citizen scientists from all around the world participated in this thing called the Stall Catchers Project. It's a project that's a joint effort of the Human Computation Institute and Cornell University. And these citizen scientists who participated in this online project accomplished over 2,500 research hours, or 3.5 months of lab equivalent research time through their analyses in that one weekend. So when we all come together, we can make a really big difference. We love videos, so I'm going to play this quick video about citizen science impact by the numbers. Our friends at PBS Nature made that for us a while back. We actually still work with them today. They're such a great team. But yeah, if you take nothing else away from this presentation, just know that anybody can do citizen science, people of all ages, all backgrounds, all professions. And they do them through various projects. And you might be wondering, where on earth do I find these projects that are listed on the screen? And this is a diverse group of projects, right? It's everything from the environment to health to space. And it's diverse modes of participation. And some of them you're taking pictures with your smartphone and documenting the natural world. Others you're actually analyzing data completely on your computer. So you might be wondering, oh my gosh, how do I get started with these projects? Through SciStarter. So that's where Emma and I work. SciStarter is the world's biggest citizen science organization. We view ourselves as the bridge between you and real science you can do, and between people who run these projects and the volunteer communities that they need to get their work done. So if someone starts a citizen science project, they add it to SciStarter, and then it's discoverable by the global community. And if I'm a community member and I am just very passionate about astronomy, I can come to SciStarter and search for astronomy projects that I can do from anywhere, from my couch if I want to, or from my own backyard. Or if I'm in an urban community, rural, suburban, doesn't matter. There's a citizen science project I can do. And where it might interest you all, because I know many of you are event planners, people who plan events can also add their events to SciStarter and get support. We have a people finder where, let's say I'm a public library and I'm doing a BioBlitz. I'm asking people to come to the library and document all the biodiversity in our area with iNaturalist, all the different plants and animals. I can add the BioBlitz to SciStarter, and then SciStarter, I can use the People Finder, the SciStarter People Finder, to message everybody with a SciStarter account in my area and get some promotional support, and invite them to attend my event. Or maybe I'm doing something in the computer lab. I'm asking everybody to come to the computer lab and play the Stall Catchers project so we can do some real Alzheimer's research. If I add the event to SciStarter, then I get that promotional support there as well. And during Citizen Science Month, there are free resources on SciStarter for my event. And of course, any time of year, we also have a tools database where you can search and find things like water quality testing kits and things like that. SciStarter is vast. We have a number of different programs, many of them for libraries. We have corporate volunteer programs. We work with the Girl Scouts. But the core of the website is definitely that project finder. And I really like this visualization that the team made. It talks you through all the different facets of SciStarter. You know, the fact that projects and event leaders can get support to find the volunteers that they need by adding their efforts to our searchable database, that the public can discover these opportunities on SciStarter, but also that because of SciStarter's tools, they can also do trainings. They can track their impact across projects and platforms. Many projects that have been added to SciStarter go through our affiliate program. So if you make your account on many of these projects with the same email address that you used to make your SciStarter account, all the stats track back to your SciStarter dashboard, the number and frequency of your contributions. And that helps us award badges and all sorts of different credentials. It helps us assess collective impact for certain programs like our Verizon program or our Girl Scouts program. The communication side of SciStarter is really important. And I think part of what sets us apart, the fact that we bring storytelling in for different citizen science projects through our podcasts, our blogs, and other avenues. Customizable resources are huge. The like library kit guides that we make, so you can have circulatable kits in your library, educational resources, the projects that make lesson plans. You can search the Finder and find projects with lesson plans to augment that citizen science participation. We also provide professional development. We have free training for library staff. You can get a badge for that. A data ethics training related to citizen science and more, all free, all grant funded, so we can offer it for free. I mentioned that partner network and also researchers. This is something that really excites me. We're able to look at anonymized data from SciStarter and understand the whole ecosystem of citizen science. So we're able to understand, what motivates people, how often do they contribute. Before SciStarter, there was really a scarcity mindset in the citizen science world. So project leaders thought, oh, if I add my project to SciStarter, I'll lose my participants. They'll get stolen by another project. But in reality, most SciStarter users, and this is a finding from our partners at NC State, who work with us to assess the platform and do research on citizen science. So our partners at NC State found that most citizen scientists do multiple projects. They do, 3 projects on average, and they span different disciplines. Like maybe they do a health project and then an environmental project. It really just depends. Or astronomy and birds. So it's a rising tide lifts all boats, and we can really grow by connecting there. And then we got the library network. I'm actually going to pass the mic to my colleague Emma here to tell you a little bit more about that library network. So Emma, over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I did want to address one question in the chat really quickly, because it's something that does come up a lot. And so if any of you are thinking about participants and volunteers who might be unsure of whether or not they submit good data, so either erroneous, maybe there are literal errors in there, or it's just they don't think that they are qualified to do certain activities, that's actually something we talk about a lot, because there are a lot of fail-safes to prevent bad data from getting through. A lot of projects use the crowd to actually double check answers before they actually approve it themselves, the actual team. Others use machine learning or AI to help guide the person towards the right answer before they even get to submit an answer. And there's actually embedded training in a lot of different projects. And so if that ever comes up with any of yourself, just thinking about it for your own volunteerism, and also for anyone you talk to and facilitate with, that is a great question. And just know that we are aware, and that's something that there are things to prevent you from feeling that way. There's also a foundations training that will actually train you on data literacy too, so to help you push forward and make sure that you are doing the right data, because sometimes it is just hard stuff, and so it's good to get some extra knowledge too and an ego boost. So the library network.
Really quickly on the data point, like Emma said, if a project's getting bad data, they're probably poorly designed. And also, I think you could tell it was the Annalisa in the chat. Annalisa, when you're working with library patrons, you can invite them to participate alongside you. I think that's part of why libraries are so great. You can help give people the skills and give them the trainings at your public events so they feel more confident in their data analysis. So that's where you can really step in and be a leader for them. So you can let them know, like, hey, don't be scared. The project's designed for this. Like the power of the crowd will help us. But you can also say, well, if you're nervous about it, let's do it together. Okay, over to Emma for the library network.
Awesome. Yeah, great idea. And that actually fits really well into what we're talking about with libraries, because our library network, the national, now international, so we actually dropped the national, we just don't have a new logo. The Citizen and Community Science Library Network is growing and nearing 1,000 participants. And so we have a lot of libraries across the U.S. who are invested in becoming a hub, a location in which people can learn about citizen science and actually contribute. And so we developed this a few years back. You can actually go to the next slide for our timeline. To give you a quick debrief on what it has looked like, we had a phase 1 in 2017, which was mostly in Arizona. And then as it continues on, we have pilot libraries testing things out. We have a network that is developed and grows to be a 350. And now in 2024, I don't remember the current number, actually. I wish I did. But it is much, much higher than 350.
It's a lot. I looked at the map the other day and I was like, whoa, that's a lot of libraries.
Yeah, if you want to see the map, by the way, it's on our library page too. So I'll drop that link in the chat too. But the whole idea behind our library network is that this is a conglomeration of people who are dedicated to training the public on new skills and spreading the knowledge about something that is impactful just in your own life and also in scientific research beyond that. So a lot of projects are hyper-local, and so libraries are great places for that communication to get started and for people to come in caring about an issue and the library to support that through citizen science, which is where environmental science comes in quite a bit. So we'll keep talking about that too. And so right now we're looking at through 2026, our Citizen Science Month, which is April, so happy Citizen Science Month, everyone, is funded and prepared, and we're just running every single April and the whole year actually to prepare for April. And you can go to the next slide. So in case you're curious about what it's actually accomplished, this is just from the pilot itself. So from knowing when we started this process, when we went in with our goals, we came out with these really interesting knowledge, the knowledge base of what this actually impacts. So we had more interest in knowledge of citizen science, which is a given, but we also had greater confidence. So the idea of people being nervous about doing different projects, that's a big deal, and it impacts a lot of people just when they see the word science, like Caroline mentioned earlier. It's not just about scientists being scientists. It's about everyone being able to collect and interpret data just from their own circumstance, right? And they grow in their confidence too. So we also had 92% of participants who expressed interest in checking out citizen science kits, which was great. Those are, just to give you a brief description of that, that's a set of citizen science projects that have actually been turned into tangible objects. And so we have a kit, a box with a bunch of different materials in them to support the citizen science project. A big part of why we did this is because libraries, being community hubs for citizen science, can also be a community hub for technology access. And so there are some projects that need resources that people don't have ready at the ready in their kitchens, for example. Like they don't have a carbon dioxide monitor in their kitchen to determine their level of ventilation. That one came out of COVID. We decided we should look into how we can determine if an area is safe and ventilation is working. And so that's an example of one of our kits. And so we had a lot of underrepresented in STEM participating in this pilot too, which supported the idea of this is something that is helpful. It builds confidence. It's something that focuses in on demographics that are underrepresented and overlooked at times. We also saw from the scientists actual increases in the data submitted to their projects. So this really is helping. This crowdsourcing method is helping them gather more data and a lot of data in order to get to their numbers. You can go to the next one too. Sweet. Excuse me. So this is the general goals that we run through. We are working to build capacity, so getting as many people ready with turnkey resources, for example, that'll get them into a supportive mode and not just asking us for questions. Our plan is to build capacity for them to work with us, but on their own and be independent and help their community, supporting a community specific to the topics that they want to talk about in their library community. We also want to broaden participation, so library patrons of all kinds are welcome, and a lot of patrons of libraries are often those who benefit most from being included in these conversations. And we also want to, of course, shape and accelerate scientific research, which is what citizen science helps us do. We also accomplish this through a big partnership. So along with SciStarter, it's also Arizona State University, go Devils, and then National Girls Collaborative Project, which is our colleague Tara, if you've ever seen her around in webinars too. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Awesome. Oh, I mentioned kits. Here's all of them, just so you know what they all look like. So the most recent one, assessing indoor air quality at the bottom here, the CO2 one. That one is new, so I don't think there's a picture for that one yet. But the rest of them are available at a lot of libraries. One of the most popular ones is Exploring Biodiversity, and Observing Pollinators is also one of my favorites. There are a lot of dark sky cities who invest in the Measuring Light in the Night box just because they care a lot about how their light pollution looks and if they have any. And so being able to tell through a kit, sending it home with a family to go and observe light pollution from their own backyard and see the stars and determine which constellations are which. It's a skill set building, and it's also just a fun activity to do and important because we're learning more about the spread of light pollution across the country. So all of them have their independent needs. If you have questions about any of these specific ones, feel free to drop in the chat and I'll make sure to answer them as we keep going. All right, go ahead. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Emma, for that framing about libraries. So we knew today we also wanted to talk about the environmental context specifically. So you saw on that last slide, some of the kits Emma mentioned focus on the environment. And you might be wondering, and this is probably important framing for you all to have as you potentially run programs about citizen science and the environment. Why are we doing this? Like, why would we run a citizen science program or do citizen science to address the environment and climate? Well, a big reason is that climate change and environmental problems generally are hyper-local. So how I experience climate change might be different than my friend across town. Maybe I have more trees on my block, so I'm less likely to experience extreme heat. We often find, and different studies have shown, including some of SciStarter's work with the Museum of Science up in Boston and Northeastern University, that there are health disparities, right? Areas that have traditionally experienced redlining and like racial disparities also experience like extreme heat at greater rates too, because there are fewer trees. And citizen science can help us document that difference and understand differences and climate hazards street by street, community and community to better address the problem. And also, map these issues and match them with other variables like race and income. And environmental problems and climate change, these big issues can make us feel powerless. And I know on my end, citizen science and the data-driven understanding it gives me helps me feel like I'm taking my power back. And it really does. The first step to solving these problems is understanding them and mapping them. And citizen science helps us do that. And I wanted to give a little case study about how I did this and how I was able to work with communities to do this. So when I was in my pageant work, my platform was Citizen Science Empowers Resilience. So it was all about that data-driven understanding, that foundation that citizen science gives, and how it can help us make a more resilient Earth. And the project I really focused on and championed was the Land Loss Lookout Project. So that was a project run by Healthy Gulf, which is a nonprofit on the Gulf Coast of the United States, as well as Northeastern University and Carterscope. And they asked people from all around the world to help classify data of land loss on the Gulf Coast. This is super important because wetlands are our first line of defense against hurricanes. We lose the wetlands because of sea level rise or oil and gas. We're less resilient against hurricanes. So it's also, a public health issue too. And people all around the world participated in this project. They mapped this wetland loss that you can see on the screen. And Healthy Gulf, they're a really great partner. I think this also showcases the fact that citizen science projects can come from a number of different places, universities, nonprofits, and more. And they were addressing wetland loss. They wanted to understand why were wetlands being lost because of sea level rise? Were they being lost because of oil and gas? Mapping all those different issues. And people from all around the world participated, and this was high quality data. Trained volunteer findings agreed with the experts at least 83% of the time and at most 94% of the time. So this was high quality analysis here from the participants. And what the project found is that oil and gas extraction and sea level rise were the most common patterns, and they frequently occurred together. So that understanding allowed Healthy Gulf to go to local policymakers and advocate for restoration of wetlands. But I wanted to showcase here just some thoughts, some insights about the participation of the projects, because I think this is a really inspiring story for environmental health and citizen science. Even though this project focused on the Gulf Coast of the United States, people could do it from anywhere. And volunteers in Nigeria, the unique mappers specifically, actually classified more data than anyone else, over 6,000 images. And because that partnership was so wonderful, the experts behind Land Loss Lookout created Land Pollution Lookout. So they partnered with the unique mappers in Nigeria, and they used some of their data to help map oil and gas activity and oil spills in Nigeria. So I thought that was so cool that Nigerians classified data to help people on the Gulf Coast of the United States, and now people on the Gulf Coast of the United States and anywhere can classify data to help the people of Nigeria. And we were able to help set up this project on the SciStarter end. After winning the grand prize scholarship as part of my pageant, championing Land Loss Lookout, I was able to donate it to Healthy Gulf to help them set up this project. So citizen science makes the world go round. There are lots of different ways to address it from the environmental perspective. Okay, so now we want to give you some actionable insights. So we want to give you templates to launch your own citizen science initiatives. So Emma mentioned CitSci Month. We're in it right now. I started off just as a day, but then we got feedback from chiefly libraries that they didn't want just a day. There was too much fun, too much citizen science. They needed a whole month. So we listened and we partnered with NLM, all of us, and ASU. to make Citizen Science Month happen. The first one was in 2020, and now it's bigger than ever, and we're trying to get 1 million acts of science this year. And we encourage you all to participate if possible. Maybe put up a book display, even if you don't want to plan a full-fledged event. Or I know libraries tend to be planners. If you all want to go ahead and start planning for 2025, you can. It's vetted. People usually have a good experience. 100% of respondents in 2022 said that attending a Citizen Science Month event changed how they thought about their library and what types of resources and learning opportunities it could provide. Organizers really enjoyed it. And also, real science gets done because of these events. There are always hundreds and thousands of data contributions to featured projects. And we're just going to skip ahead from the 2023 outcomes just to show this graphic. And yeah, across the board, every year, Citizen Science Month has grown and become bigger and better than ever. So this year, we're collaborating with the NAPC again. You heard from Kirsten earlier. And featuring the All of Us research program as a keynote project, thanks to the NAPC, always goes really well because it meaningfully engages communities in important health research. So many libraries partner with SciStarter, and if you want to work with us next year, if there's an All of Us office near you, we can make something happen. Because all of us, people can understand health in a new way when they come to their library and speak to researchers from the All of Us research program, like you can see here, what we did in Sacramento last year. They can also, many of these events, we set it up so people can participate in All of Us on site and share some of their health data to help reduce health disparities potentially. And All of Us encompasses environmental health too. Many of the researchers hone in on that and the intersections between how different environmental factors can interact with demographic data. So I think 2023, we worked with a number of different states. I wanted to highlight the California events. I pulled some of those stats. There are 100% of respondents who went to our DNA Day event you saw on the last slide. So they were extremely likely to stay involved in All of Us. So these library events are very effective in getting people to join different citizen science projects. I think with All of Us, it shows a good example, especially if you hone in on the environmental aspects, that events can be asynchronous, right? Like maybe you just put a shelf talker out about All of Us are an environmental project, or you have some interactive posters. So you put a big, we have templates for those on SciStarter. You can put a big poster up and people can put sticky notes, or you circulate some of those kits Emma mentioned. Or maybe it's synchronous. You could do a watch party for one of our events that we have. We have some really great All of Us keynote events coming up, including the environmental one. And you could just tune in with your library or maybe screen the recording. If you do that, email me and let me know so maybe I can send you some bookmarks and help support you. Or maybe you do a multi-day All of Us recruitment event. It really just depends. Okay, 1 million acts of science. This is what you've all been waiting for. So we want to empower you to participate in citizen science projects with your communities, including environmental health projects. So what is the 1 million acts of science? I'm going to pass the mic briefly back to Emma to explain a little bit of this effort and how y'all can participate.
Absolutely. So citizen science is not necessarily a household name at this point. And so one of the reasons we're going for 1 million acts of science is also just to make it more accessible to everyone. So when we say acts of science, this is anything that you do that relates to participatory sciences. You're impacting real research within the month of April. So that includes every time you participate in an actual project, let's say stall catchers, you go on to the Alzheimer's Research Project. Every time oh gosh, what's the word? You look at the stalls, you decide which one it is. Every time you analyze an image, that counts as an act. It's also an act if you go out and participate in an event about citizen science. Even joining SciStarter is an act of citizen science. We talked about posting on social media, that hashtag 1 million acts of science, that's spreading the word. That is definitely an act of science. And so our global month-long campaign, that's Citizen Science Month, this year is changed into a competition, a challenge of sorts to get us up to 1 million acts of science. Now, I have my bets that we'll make it there before the end of the month, to be honest, but that means that we'll know. We've never done a count like this. This is the most massive count that's ever been done for seeing how much citizen science actually can get done in a month with intentional people going and actually spreading the word, and also just the normal stuff that happens anyway. And so being a part of this is something we want to encourage all of you to do and actually look into it and see just how well we're doing over the course of the month too, just to see how cool it is. So I'll hand it back to Caroline unless there was a specific.
No, this is the time, everybody, to fire up your smartphones and post about hashtag 1 million acts of science and something you've learned today if you'd like. Because, an act of science is you're doing one right now. You're attending this event. You can analyze some data like Emma mentioned. You can share pictures of nature, use your smartphone to monitor the environment. The list goes on. And you can also use some of these stickers too. Just go to citizensciencemonth.org to learn everything you need to know about this. So we wanted to give you a step-by-step introduction to at least one citizen science project. And I picked IC Change because I think you can tie it into health really nicely. I saw Annalisa asked about suggestions on how to work with the retired adults and elderly. So speaking from experience, I think the best way to do it is to find a featured project that you think really aligns with your audience's interests. So let's say I'm working with an older community, and from the older adults I've worked with, I know they just love birds. So maybe I would pick the eBird project and walk them through that. You want to start off with a topic that you know is going to resonate with the group you're working with. So for older folks, maybe just survey the folks you're working with, figure out what their favorite topic is. Maybe they really love astronomy. They love looking up at the night sky. An accessible project, and also I know with older folks too, just speaking anecdotally, sometimes they don't like the projects that have like a bunch of apps and things like that. So a recommendation, let's say I'm working with a group of retirees that loves astronomy. I would probably pick the Globe at Night project, which incidentally is one of our library kits measuring light in the night. What that project requires, and you can print off a lot of data sheets and things like that, so they don't have to bring a phone or anything like that into the field. And you could submit the data for them later, just have them come into the computer lab and submit it themselves the next day or something like that. They go out into the field. There's a Globe at Night has campaigns, and each campaign has a featured constellation for different hemispheres. So let's say the featured constellation for that campaign is Orion. You go up in the night sky, you look up, you try to find Orion, and you count the number of stars in Orion that you're able to see. If you're not able to see all the stars in Orion, that means that light pollution is at play, and that's obscuring your view of the night sky. Light pollution is when things like streetlights, beam light right up and, obscure what we'd see in the natural environment. Light pollution is a pretty serious problem. I mean, on the one hand, we're losing our shared heritage of the stars, and, that's very important historically. Constellations have such a rich history, and it's just something that I think makes being on Earth great, being able to enjoy the night sky. But also it has health impacts, right? Light pollution disrupts our circadian rhythms and our sleep. It can also be harmful for environmental health with animal migration, right? So it can disrupt ecosystems. So documenting light pollution, doing a census of it through the Globe at Night project is very important. As we talked about with environmental problems, the first step to solving it is understanding it and getting that shared data-driven understanding. So I would recommend the Globe at Night project for a group of older adults that love astronomy, because you can use our kit materials on SciStarter and download them and circulate them and get going. But I really just explore the Finder, explore some of our kits, explore some of our templates, and just find the project that you think will work best for your community. And if you do it during April, make sure you report your efforts with the self-reporting form so we can count you toward the 1 million acts of science. Okay, IC Change. So I really love this citizen science project, and it's also a SciStarter affiliate. So if you sign up for the same for IC Change with the same email address used at the to sign up for SciStarter, all your contributions will track back into your dashboard. And if you have your community do it, let's say you create a SciStarter list, that's a free tool we provide, and you share it out to members of your community, and they all make SciStarter accounts, and they make IC Change accounts with the same emails. You can actually track the number of their contributions to IC Change and maybe show it to your library director as evidence of impact. So that's one service we offer as well. But anyway, so IC Change turns anybody and everybody into a climate reporter. So it's getting at that qualitative data, the words and pictures. So I see people using IC Change a lot in South Florida because IC Change actually has an official partnership with the city of Miami. They're the go-to system for people to report flood impacts. So if you see flooding on the sidewalk, you take a picture, you add it to IC Change, and local leaders are able to use that to target resiliency improvements and infrastructure improvements. IC Change has also worked with the health department in New Orleans because people they were reporting their experience of extreme heat. So they weren't necessarily taking pictures there, but they might say, it's so hot today, I'm feeling very faint. it's really hard to go through my daily activities. Whatever it was, they would just describe the impact on them or the impact they suspected it had on their neighbors. And the New Orleans Health Department was able to use that to target some of their programs. So data is helpful. Understanding the hyperlocal impacts of climate change is really helpful. I like IC Change because it's a free platform and it's very accessible. So you could use it in your community, maybe give your community members a prompt, maybe something about environmental health, whatever hazard you pick, and then have them just contribute. And we have step-by-step instructions on SciStarter, but it's pretty intuitive. And I like that it's an app and a website. So it's accessible to people who want to use smartphones, who don't want to use smartphones, things like that. And my challenge to you all is you can participate in IC Change today from wherever you are. And if you post about your participation on social media, use the hashtag 1,000,000acts of science. I'll make sure to retweet it from the SciStarter account. I know Emma monitors the SciStarter Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as I do. So we're going to catch you if you post about it. So I really encourage you all to participate in IC Change today and post about your experience so we can celebrate you. But let's say you were going to do an IC, beyond just participating as an individual, let's say you were going to do an IC Change program in your library. Emma mentioned our facilitator slides and guide. So I'd start things off by just setting the stage with some of that, and it's offered on our Foundations of Citizen Science training page. So maybe you do a brief presentation and you walk everybody through our free Foundations training and you get them their badge. You have them make their accounts on SciStarter. Maybe you make a SciStarter list and you add IC Change to it and you have them all join so you can just track some of their participation. Then maybe after that, you do some subject matter lecturing just to deepen their experience. So you could discuss with your community the differences between weather and climate. Weather is what's happening right now. Climate is the average of weather over time. And then you can talk about climate hazards like extreme heat or flooding. And feel free to use some of the slides. I actually linked them in here from my dissertation. We're going to be sharing the slides out after, so you can grab them from there. You can also reach out to your local extension agent. Citizen science is always a great opportunity to bring in related subject matter experts. So if you're in the States, you definitely have an extension office, at least somewhat close to you. And you can reach out to them and have them come in and lecture about weather and climate and use that as a free public talk to engage people and then have people take action afterward by doing IC Change. Then you can walk them through best practices for taking a picture or assessing their environment and their experience, and then you just set them loose. You have them all make their IC Change accounts from their SciStarter accounts, same email address on both, so everything tracks, and you have them just post and write down what they experienced. So you can see on here that it's kind of tiny, but someone posted from Miami an image of flooding, and she said, lots of sidewalks being flooded during the recent storm and tide. Saw a senior walking through the watery areas and worried he'll slip. That's a great post because she describes what she sees, and she also documents what she worries about in regard to her community. So you want, with IC Change, to share your own lived expertise because that is valuable qualitative data. It's the human impact of climate change, and that really matters for public health. And then you can have everybody come back. Maybe you discuss what you saw as a group. Maybe you assess how many people added data, and that helps you see if your program was successful or not in moving science forward. And then maybe you all use that data as a jumping off point for next steps, like talking to your community about what you saw. If you see problems in the community that you think they should address, like, there's a drought here, and we've noticed it's more acute in these particular areas based on what people are posting on IC Change. What should we do? Citizen science is a great jumping off point for conversation. There's also the Globe at Night project. So I already went through all that about the light pollution and the problem. One last thing to note with this project is we do have a kit for it, right? And I think the kit is cool because you can participate in Globe at Night without the kit or without the sky quality meter. But if you have that, that's an extra step you can do, and it makes your contributions even better and more robust. A sky quality meter is a tool that astronomers use to make official measurements of the night sky. So definitely consider circulating that kit in your library. And there are lots of different ways you can take that program, and you can enrich people's understanding of the history of constellations. You can delve into the health impacts of light pollution. You can take this program a lot of different ways. So I think we'll end. We're almost near the end with a final call to action. We really want you all to participate in the 1 Million Acts of Science, either as an individual or with your community. We're grateful for you all. We are here to listen to you. You can contact us anytime at info@scistarter.org. And before we officially close and hand it back, well, I know we want to take some questions too. Emma, I like that example post. Maybe you could talk through that really quickly about how people can showcase their act of science for today.
Forgot I was muted. Sorry. Yes, sure. I always find it difficult to post on socials, and so that's why I felt the need to add that in. So anything you post that has the hashtag 1 million acts of science, those are the ones that get picked up. So even if you just explain your experience and then add hashtag 1 million acts of science at the end, that's awesome. You can also add us at SciStarter on every different social media, and we'll be able to find it. So we'd love to see that. So I have two examples, one that's more focused towards facilitator, but you can ad lib as much as you want to those and add what you'd like. I'm also adding the 2 links to the Build a Kit guide for the Globe at Night and the project information for both Globe at Night and Icy Change.
Yay. Okay, everybody, get your questions in so Emma and I can answer them. And while people get their questions in, I'm going to pose a question to you, Emma. What is your act of science for today?
Ooh, it's funny when your job is this, because I feel like our acts of science are infinite. They just keep going, simply because we do this as our job and our passion in life. That's a good question. Yeah, I can't. Man, do you have one automatically in your brain? Because I did, let me actually check, because I had a list that I was going to go through for today.
I said my act of science. I actually posted it. I'm going to show you
nice.
all on Twitter. I presented a poster this morning at UF's Graduate Student Symposium. So because I talked about my research with IC Change through my poster, that counted as today's act of science. So let me share my screen so you all know it's not scary. Share. You can see I did the hashtag 1 million acts of science. We're also trying to get people around the world, especially today, to tweet as part of an effort with our friends at the Australian Citizen Science Association. So I tagged their little Citizen Science, the conference account, because they're trying to get everybody to post 3 tweets about why they love citizen science. So feel free to participate in that too. But if you just want to use the 1 million acts hashtag, that's fine. But yeah, I said I love Citizen Science Month, Citizen Science, it's ITC. In fact, I love it so much that I'm presenting a poster right now that highlights my work with One IC Change. So that was my act of science. But later, I think I'm probably going to do, what project should I do today? I'll probably do Instant Wild. I really like that project. You're able to classify different animals and camera trap photos from around the world. I think that one's fun because I can see different global images. Ooh, did we get a message?
I'm actually going to screen share and
go for it.
The message too, but I just dropped in the chat the citizensciencemonth.org or the --participate link. If you go there and you're looking, so when my brain is thinking, oh, I don't even know what act I'll do, this has all of the acts you can do, and there's much more obviously, but we made a calendar for you that's specific to different activities you can do each day. And so if you're looking for something to do, this is your one-stop shop to get started. You can take a look at our calendar here. Also nearing the bottom, we have today's featured project. So it's Frog Month, but it's also National Public Health Week. And so I have Monkey Health Explorer here. We have Save the Waves, which is environmental health. We've got OFO Wildlife Watching, which is weird, not exactly health, but it's gut health of wildlife. It's a little weird. Outbreaks Near Me, which is public health oriented, Narika, public health oriented. And then we also have the All of Us research program down there too. So if you're looking for a new project, today's featured projects will change out every single day. And so you'll see new ones each time. I think mine will be Monkey Health Explorer today. I love them. It's great. You're looking at like blood cells of monkeys and you're identifying which type is which, and you feel very smart doing it. That goes for pretty much all citizen science projects, of course. But yeah, if you wanted a closer look at this calendar, by the way, I'll send a link in the chat so you can get one easier to share and keep for a while.
Yay, the people love the calendar. Emma, we're getting some good feedback in the chat.
Yay. Yeah, it's an extensive calendar. So is there programming with the focus on physical or mental health that does not ask for? Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple that I just mentioned were in there. So if you, the Outbreaks Near Me one is not, it's physical, or it's just general health. So if you're basically saying if you're healthy or sick, one's just tracking diseases across time. So like tracking the flu, tracking COVID, et cetera. That one's a great one. And then Eureka is mental health, and you don't have to give any of your data. It's just, it's anonymized. That's a great example.
I thought this was a good time to demo how to use the project finder. So I just did that. I searched mental health and I was like, you know what? I want my contributions tracked to my dashboard. So I searched only SciStarter affiliates and there's Eureka. It's a really cool project. It's out of Trinity College in Dublin, but it's global. And they're trying to do the biggest ever mental health study. So definitely help them out and play some of their brain games.
Yeah. If you're interested in news and science too, they were part of the process to figure out that wearing your hearing aids, if you wear hearing aids or hearing is directly related to, or related, I don't know if it was determined if it was fully related or just, I don't know the two words to describe it, sorry. But the idea is that if you are hearing impaired, wearing hearing aids is really important because it prevents you from developing dementia too early. So if you are, if you know anyone with hearing loss or whatever, that is very specific to their project and important to me because my mother wears hearing aids and I want her to wear them always, even if she doesn't want to hear me speak sometimes.
Oh, no.
She'll like wear them to work and then take them off when she's home.
And then someone asked about the foundations training. If you have to have an email, not for the foundation slides that we have available for free, you don't need an email to download those. But if people are actually doing the training itself and getting their badge, they do have to have a SciStarter account and give their email address and everything. So if you're trying to get around the email requirement, I would just scroll down to the bottom of the foundations page. It's like, as you can see, I got my badge. I did my training. Congratulations. But you could just download the facilitator slides if you don't want people to get accounts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you do have an account, your badge can be put on your LinkedIn too. So as far as like micro crediting for educational purposes, I think it's really impactful. And I'm a part of a movement to push for that to be more impactful. There's a lot of citizen scientists who have evolved to help with publications and actually be hired by these scientific institutions. And so it is a big deal and does a lot of work with education too. So if you want to encourage them to use their email, that is great because then they get to prove their skills that they learned. Yeah. But of course, it is optional if you skip the badge.
Yes. And then we got some other questions in here. Janice, thank you for the flag about the risk study. We'll look back into that. And that's a good sign too that science evolves and different findings are available at different times. So thank you for flagging that. And then someone asked, do these resources also have different languages? Yes, I'm actually trying to flesh out a page before we do a big push for all of us in Spanish language citizen science. But we have a page called Multilingual Citizen Science Resources that's under construction. The Globe at Night data form is available in over 20 languages. And there are a number of projects where, like the Conario project, which is an air quality project I do a lot, that one actually was designed in Spanish and translated to English later. So there are lots of different projects and lots of different languages. That being said, the majority of projects are in English, just based on how the system has been set up so far. But I'm looking forward to working in my career to making citizen science more accessible, getting more projects translated into different languages. Okay, I think we're at the end. Kirsten, if you want to wrap us up.
Great. Yeah, so thank you, Caroline and Emma, for joining us during this session. We have just a few items before we end the session here. So if you're interested in claiming MLA-CE credit for this, I will post the link in the chat just after I'm done chatting here. As you take the evaluation, if you answer yes to wanting CE, please make sure you pay close attention to the CE code and additional instructions will appear. If you haven't already, consider registering for some additional NNLM events. The next event that we have is environmental chemicals and breast cancer. What do we know and what can we do? And I'll post that link in the chat as well. We also have a series guide that I'll share, and our social media hashtag is hashtag SDOEH24, which if you're posting your Million Acts of Science post on whichever social media channel you choose, you can also hashtag us at hashtag SDOEH24. Thank you so much for attending and participating, and to our guest speakers for a fabulous presentation. But again, thanks so much for attending today, and we look forward to seeing you at both SciStarter and NNLM events in the future.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel, or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.